This is a video demonstration for how to make vegetable chow mein Panda Express style. So the first thing we're going to do is actually get our water going for cooking off our noodles, because that's going to take quite some time for this water to come to a boil. All right, we have a large pasta pot that we use in class when we're doing larger amounts of pasta, but that is not necessary today. We're going to take the stock pot, fill it up to the water just below the rivet line, and do use this colander inside that's going to allow us to pull out the noodles and drain. Okay, when you put that colander in, the water level should not come up over the top. So I'm going to go ahead and start that up to get it to start to come to a boil. So it's going to take some time, and then we'll talk about getting our vegetables prepped. The vegetables all got to get prepped while this water is boiling, because you're going to stir fry all the vegetables before you cook off your noodles, because the noodles themselves are going to get done fairly quickly. So let's come on over to our green board and talk about some of our items that we need. All right, the dish has a sauce that we're going to get together first, and that includes some soy sauce, some ginger, some garlic, and some brown sugar for sweetening, and then pepper for a little bit of spice. All right, so the amount of soy sauce is 1/4 cup. If we get the smaller measuring cup and fill it up to 1/4 cup, we can go ahead and get ready to add in our brown sugar, which is a tablespoon packed. And you guys will get that taken and picked up probably up front. So a tablespoon of that. It's all going to fit in here. And then we need 2 teaspoons of grated ginger. So remember, for fried rice, if we take a piece of ginger, I think that might be about enough. Okay, that we can take the bark off by using a spoon. And then instead of mincing this, we're actually going to grate it. So we're going to show you a new tool today called a microplaner. And hopefully you get 2 teaspoons out of that. And when you grate this with a microplaner, it's going to make it super strong and intense. And so we won't need to use as much of it. So this is the microplaner. We're looking for 2 teaspoons of the ginger. So just using this against the planer, it may get stuck inside, but then you bang it out. As you get towards the bottom, start to use your fingertips to slide, so that we're not going to end up eating fingernail. They're not sharp that they would necessarily cut your skin. All right, and let's see how we did with that. That we're looking for a teaspoon. There's 1 that can go in, and just a little bit less, so like I thought. And when I get to the point of that's not going to fit anymore, then I can mince that up. All right, so the smaller something is, the more intense the flavor. All right, so instead of mincing the ginger, we're going to use this, and I'm going to say it together, that's 2 teaspoons. I'm good with that. All right, towel to wipe off my paper and all. We need the equivalent of 3 cloves of garlic, which will be a tablespoon. Okay, so I will do this and speed it up time lapse, but remember that the first thing we'll do is smash this, okay, with the side of our knife, so we can get the paper off, get all the paper off, so that's not anywhere going to be in your food. Then we're going to mince that up and add that to our sauce. All right, so again, this is paper waste you can get off, throw into the garbage. And then we'll mince these up. Because I know this is the standard garlic clove, I'm not going to bother measuring these to a tablespoon. I just trust that they're going to be right. I think those are pretty much all done. Put that in. I need my bench scraper to get stuff. And then finally was a 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. So if I have my pepper over here, and add that in. We do not need any salt because the soy sauce has lots and lots of salt flavor. All right, and with the plastic fork, say, I want to mix that up. Definitely so that the sugar in the bottom has a chance to get dissolved. So that also is something you want to do right away, so the sugar can get dissolved. That's my sauce going to get poured in at the very end. All right, I get this garlic out of the way. Let's start talking about prepping the rest of our vegetables. No more brown sugar. I'm going to save the onions for the end because the potential mess that they make with paper, and if it makes me cry. Okay, don't want the tears all over my food. So let's start with your celery. We need 2 stalks of celery. Okay, and this has not been rinsed yet, so I want you guys to know that celery growing out of the ground there, the root, can be very, very dirty. So when you pull these stalks off, it's the best to do before you rinse, because you definitely can get dirt down there. So I'll rinse those and bring them back. And then I want you guys to be aware of the fact that the bottom part, don't throw it away. It's white, not so flavorful. I'm gonna potentially use that for making stock. The top part, where it splits, you take that off as well. You give that back to me, I'm gonna use it for making vegetable broth. All right, these are gonna be cut in 1/4 inch, okay, on the diagonal, but this bottom part was so big that I wanna split it first, so I cut these down to size and then hand on top because it's round. That one's small enough that we can do this 1/4 inch on the diagonal. Make sure that you have a nice grip on this, as it may want to roll on you as you get to the end, so be careful. And the same thing here on the diagonal. Put those in a little pile. You could have separate bowls. I can stack these up or lay them side by side. Some 1/4 inch on the diagonal. And I don't need to put this into a measuring cup because it told me 2 stalks. The celery, like other things, full of a lot of water, so it's going to be a quick stir fry, intense heat, so that stuff doesn't get soggy. All right, the other thing that we have to cut up before the onions is something that's known as Napa cabbage, N-A-P-P-A, okay, or celery cabbage. So this is a different type of cabbage, or repollo, that you might see, used for like pozole and all. You could use regular green cabbage if you had to, but this is more authentic. And the bottom part that is super white, we are still going to use, okay? So this whole head is going to take care of a lot of people. I wanted you to see how to break this down to start with. Okay, then I've got to cut it through the core, the inner part a little bit more yellow, okay? And that core, potentially probably 1/3. Okay, so I'm going to get you guys pieces. I think is going to be about 2 cups. Okay, like that. And I cut it a certain way so that it holds its shape, the root. All right, so this is going to be cut 1/4 inch strips in what we call a chiffonade. It's a fancy word for strips. Okay, so across it, and this should end up generating 2 cups of product. Okay, and I have my 2-cup measuring cup here, so I just put that in loose. We'll pack it down. See where we are. Just about 2 cups. And then maybe have just a couple more slices. That, don't throw away, I'll keep that. Vegetable stock. So there's my 2 cups of Napa cabbage. Okay, celery cabbage we call it. And then finally we're getting to the onion time. All right, so for the onion time, we've got 2 scallions. These have already been rinsed. Okay, can get dirty down here where it's in the ground. Sometimes this little membrane will pull down. But similar to what you guys did before with fried rice, we have the top for a garnish. So that's going to be cut in a 1/4 inch diagonal on the bias. They're not going to be cooked or stir fried. As soon as I get down to the white, that is going to become part of the stir fry with the regular onion. So I'm going to keep those separated. And as I get to the bias, I have to go individually because the root part we're going to throw away. So that's the bottom part of the onion, going to go with the regular onion. and throw my roots away. Guess I could put those in the stock. Clean up around my board a little bit. Now it's time for the white onion. Okay, so the white onion is going to be a 1/2 cup. It's going to be cut in a peculiar way. Okay, and the fact that you got this root here that holds this all together, we're going to actually cut this way so they come apart. All right, so I will have these separated for you. Okay, but that root part we don't want to get rid of at this point. Okay, and for a 1/2 cup, it's probably just going to be about, for this size onion, 1/3 of that, so 6 pieces total. We'll see how we did. Put that off to the side. Go ahead and get off your paper. Okay, but keep the root in place. That's what holds this all together. And I'm going to cut them down in skinny strips so they separate. And because they're bigger, they won't have as intense a flavor. Now when you get to here and it slides around, be careful. Okay, but when I cut across the root, that way these should all loosen up. And if I have a couple pieces here, I can cut them so that they get a little bit smaller. So if you're not a huge onion fan, they're big enough you could pick them out. They're going to get cooked in such a way that they get a little bit sweeter. All right, so I think we pretty much have our veggies prepped. We have a little bit of heaping cup of onions, 1/2, the scallion bottoms, the celery, the Napa cabbage, 2 cups worth. The scallion's not going to get stir fried for a garnish. Okay, so that is our vegetable prep.